So welcome back to Warp Painter's Warp Crafts. In this second video, I talk about how I do my saturated colors. So after priming its base layer, then adding white to the color, and then finally glazing with that color. So I've got my prime Space Marine here. He's a bit grainy because I like mixing and weathering pigment in my primer. It's not necessary, but it is my preference to just work with a grainier surface. So I'm using Lead Belcher as my base layer for this paint up. For one, it's a bright color, so it'll help push the colors I'm going to lay on top of it later on. And secondly, it's just because this is how I imagine Space Marine armor looks like underneath the livery. And painted the upper part of his body here, mainly to give us an idea of how it looks like before we lay on the grime. But at the same time, I have better videos of me painting the legs, and that's what we're going to focus on for this tutorial. Okay, not a paid promotion, but I am using local paints for this paint up. We do have a bunch of companies producing local minis paints here in the Philippines, so thankful for that. Okay, so going through my process, I'm going to start with the yellow, and then I'm going to mix in about 2 parts white, and just put them together with a little bit of water, thinning them to the consistency of milk. Sometimes I thin it a little bit more, depending on what I need for the build. And then I just start laying on that on the parts that I wanted colored. I just wanted to mention I'm not a mini painter by training. My parents, when I was a kid, used to send me to art class every summer because I was an only child and they didn't want me left at home doing nothing. So every summer in art class, we were trained to mix paints. You know, it was different art classes, so it wasn't really a progression, but I would go through the basics of working with paint every summer. And one of the things we did was you mix your own paints. And so I applied that process now that I'm painting miniatures. Okay, so I'm going to keep mixing our colors here together until I get to that soft faded yellow color of cream sort of look. And I'm going to thin it down a little bit of water, but not so much, just to about the consistency of milk, because I want this layer to be just a little bit thicker than the next couple of layers I'm going to put on. And what that will do is it will give me that soft faded effect that I'm looking for by the time we finish. So the previous layer has dried, and it's going to give us this nice soft cream undertone, which would be a great platform for us to build the colors on. So next I'm going to mix equal parts white and yellow, and I'm just going to repeat the same process. Although I'm gonna thin the consistency of this a little bit more, and it's gonna be nearer to water. Not like milk from the last part. So now the second layer has dried and it's given us this nice, stronger yellow tone to the work that we've been doing. So for this last part, I'm just going to take a little bit of the paint, the yellow paint, and I'm going to mix in a whole lot of water, turning it into a glaze. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub this down on the yellow parts, try to clean up any pooling or any drips that come up. And at the end of it, we're going to have a nice, soft, faded yellow for our Space Marine. You might notice that I'm flipping our Space Marine here upside down, and that's because I'm painting at the consistency of water. Now that allows me to let the water do the work for me. Just by moving the figure around, I can distribute it evenly over the surface that I'm painting. And that is it. This is what our Marine now looks like, having been painted up in soft, saturated colors. So in this piece, I used blue and yellow. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to have some pictures of my other work, which will hopefully give you an idea of what else you can do with other colors as well. There's also a photo of the Marine that's done, and you'll notice there's a bit of griming that's already been put on that. And I will be sharing how I do my griming process in another video, so stay tuned for that. If you found this video helpful and enjoyable, please do click like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more of my content. Thank you for watching, and see you again at the next Warp Painters Warpcrafts.